We are excited to host our 12th annual Smart Energy Summit and want to thank Ossiaco for their sponsorship support of this year's 12th annual event. I've got Lawrence Schmidt joining us today to share more about his role in the company's initiatives. So thank you so much, Laurent, for being here. And again, we're really appreciate your support of this year's event. So if we can just start for a moment and see if you can give a brief introduction of your role and the role that Ossiaco is playing in the energy market today.
Yes, so thank you for having us today. Ossiaco is a company which has been working onto the integration of distributed energy resources into the residential and prosumer markets. And I myself in charge in Ossiaco of the activities related to utilities as well as our European developments. What we have been seeing in the past few months is a very rapid transformation of energy system to prepare for further climate change mitigation, being able to reduce the carbon footprint of energy system, and that has driven to the massive introduction of renewable at all scale of the energy system, whether it's wind, photovoltaics, but as well as new technologies for decarbonizing the transportation, electrical vehicles. And while we introduce renewable into the energy system, more interest for flexibility to balance and manage the energy system, which really question how to best integrate and optimize the flexibility of distributed energy resources into the prosumer back into to the utility and wholesale market. So we are really on the journey on optimizing the integration of distributed energy resources, looking primarily at residential markets, and into the journey of the prosumer wanting to play his role in the energy transition and become low carbon users in the future.
Well, that's great. And there's certainly a major transformation going on right now as the residential and commercial markets are looking to really reduce their overall carbon footprint. Recently, we've had a major energy crisis here in Texas. It's a beautiful day today, but just recently we had many across the state with power outages as a result of the supply really not being able to meet the demand. And I wonder if you might be able to comment a little bit on your perspective of that situation in Texas.
I think the Texas situation has been an eye-opener to the worldwide energy environments, in the fact that energy systems are becoming severely exposed to weather catastrophes, and basically to the complexity of maintaining the energy system life without blackout during these periods. And let's be honest, I think everyone, every prosumer start to realize that it's becoming almost impossible to rely in the future on an electrical system which is going to be available all the time. I think what these catastrophes, and we really sincerely hope everything is going to be recovered soon, is going to question the energy system is overall managed, and how is the resiliency of this energy system maintained, and the role of the prosumer into this resiliency aspect. So of course, one of the key elements is what should be the role of photovoltaics and vehicle parked in a home during these extreme periods. Why don't we enable a vehicle to home into these critical periods, while we know the power electronics storage are available, and we are launching a product, Decibel, which is enabling a vehicle to home, vehicle to grid functionality. And I think we think these extreme weather events are basically accelerators of these new integration which we see happening into the smart home environment.
Well, we certainly are seeing with our research that consumers have a willingness and really a desire to get their electricity from providers who not only have traditional sources of energy, but also the renewable energy sources. So our latest data shows that 43% of consumers prefer energy providers that offer both. So I think this is going to continue, as everybody has more awareness. And the situation in Texas, I didn't think about my electricity 2 weeks ago at all, and now it is very much top of mind. I asked my husband to buy a generator. So people will respond to the crisis in different ways. But let's get back on some of the other market drivers and trends that you're seeing. So could you share maybe 3 of the top things that you think are happening in the market that will help push things forward?
So the first trend which we really see happening is this need for decarbonizing the energy system on its normal operation periods, and the very rapid introduction of renewable and electrical vehicle at the edge of the system, as well as heat pumps. And here, the amount of flexibility in the same time needs to be increased into the system. And here there is a new dilemma on how to integrate distributed energy resources into the home. While these were demand response, PV, and storage were historically siloed in terms of approach, I think they need to be further integrated into the home and thought from a single interface point of view back into the grid. The second element which we see happening is the large amount of IoT available, or I would say smart devices, which is maybe more the term in the US, available in the home environment. A lot of potential smart usage data, but what we see is a missing orchestration and interface layers across this environment, particularly when it comes to energy management services. So that's the second element. And the last one is what I was just referring before, is this a notion of bottom-up resiliency. And here we are not anymore in an environment where we want to optimize or minimize carbon footprint, but we're in an environment where we need to save life, and where we need to find, I would say, every possible resources available during these extreme scenarios, whether they are local diesel generators, vehicle to grid, or dedicated storage. And I think here that will require a different way of integrating all these devices through power electronics. And this power electronics will need to be, in a way, grid forming. So being able to form the frequency when the grid will not be able and will not be available anymore. And in order to be able to safeguard, I would say, emergency critical loads into these prosumers' house. So these are really 3 trends happening in parallel, and that's going to revolutionize, I think, what prosumer need at the interface of the smart home.
Well, certainly consumers are able to be an active participant here, and collectively really have a large impact. Can you share a little bit more about Decibel and that specific technology? It's maybe a little bit complicated, so maybe break it down for us to easily understand what's unique about the technology.
So the first element of the technology is to be an inverter technology. So that's converting AC to DC and DC to AC. And it's capable of connecting various DC direct current device together without going through the AC. So that makes this conversion much more efficient. So if you convert PV into battery, for instance, you only go through a single conversion rather than going through various stages. So it's much more efficient at the power conversion level, as an example. But it also allows to make use of the battery of an electrical vehicle exactly the same way as a standalone battery, as an example. On the top of this voltage source inverter, so voltage source is the technology being used. We also use an IoT environment and a platform which is capable of orchestrating devices around the inverter. So we think the inverter will real-time interact with the rest of the devices into the home, but as well as interaction with the cloud and with the utilities, and being able to use and connect with real-time price, with the DER forecasts and so on, to be able to enhance the customer journey when it comes to optimizing his energy in his I would say PV, EV, and house environment.
Well, it's certainly a market and in transition, and I think technologies like yours are going to play a key role in the future. And so we want to thank you again for your time today and for your support of Parks Associates' 12th Annual Smart Energy Summit. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for the event.